At the supermarket, I stared at the pork ribs on the shelf, priced at 38.9 yuan per jean, 41.5 yuan balance. My phone showed a balance of 41.3 yuan. Today is November 27th. My 500 yuan living allowance for next month is still 4 days away. I put the ribs down and picked up a box of discounted eggs. 6.9 yuan. 12 eggs. That'll last me 4 days. At the checkout, a middle-aged woman was paying with her card. The POS machine beeped. The amount displayed was 3,847 yuan. I glanced at what she bought. Australian Wagyu beef, king crab, cherries. I looked down and placed the eggs on the conveyor belt. My phone vibrated. A WeChat message from Jiang Rui. Got a business dinner tonight. Won't be home for dinner. I replied, okay. The 147th one. Won't be home for dinner. I've counted. Back home, my mother-in-law was sitting in the living room. A pile of health products was on the coffee table. The packaging was still unopened. Mom, you're here. Wang Shufan glanced up. You're back. What did you buy? Eggs. She scoffed. Eggs again. My son makes 5 million a year, and you feed him eggs every day. I didn't say anything. As I put the eggs in the fridge, I saw it was almost empty. The groceries I bought last week were long gone. Su Jin. My mother-in-law's voice came from behind. My friend recommended this great product. Take a look. She handed me a flyer. A brand of goat milk powder. 698 yuan per can. 6 cans per course of treatment. It's good for your health. Buy 2 courses. I looked at the number. 698 times 12 equals 8,376 yuan. My monthly living allowance is 500 yuan. Mom, that's too expensive. Expensive? Wang Shufan's face instantly fell. My son makes 5 million a year, and you say this is expensive? Is this how you treat your mother-in-law? No, what I mean is, enough. She stood up, grabbed her bag. I'll talk to Jiang Rui. His wife is too stingy. Won't even buy her mother-in-law some health products. The door slammed shut. The whole room shook. I stood there, still clutching that flyer. 698 times 12 equals 8,376 yuan. I looked down at my phone. 47.3 yuan. At 9 in the evening, Jiang Rui came home. The smell of alcohol was strong on him. Mom called. He tossed his coat onto the sofa. About the goat milk formula. I peeked out from the kitchen. Jiang Rui, we're short on living expenses this month. Short again. He frowned. Su Jin, 500 yuan isn't enough for you. Back in the day, my mom managed to feed the whole family on 200 yuan a month. Now you can't even make do with 500 yuan. Prices are different now. Enough. He waved his hand, cutting me off. Stop whining to me about money. I already transferred the money for the goat milk formula to my mom. You don't need to worry about it. He walked into the bedroom and closed the door. I stood at the kitchen doorway, still wearing my apron. The fried rice in the wok had gone cold. That was tonight's dinner. Just eggs and rice. I held my phone and typed a note in the memo app. November 27th. Goat milk formula, 8,376 yuan. Transferred directly to mother-in-law. This was the 89th expense I'd recorded. That didn't go through me. The first entry was 3 years ago. Ever since then, the living allowance Jiang Rui gave me has been fixed at 500 yuan. 500 yuan a month. Can buy 6 jean of pork ribs, or 15 jean of eggs, or 100 jean of rice. But it's not enough for a single can of his mom's goat milk formula. The next morning, just before Jiang Rui left, I stopped him. Jiang Rui, can we raise the living allowance a bit? He was tying his tie and paused at my words. Raise it again. Everything's getting more expensive these days. 500 yuan, really? Su Jin. He turned around and looked at me. Do you have any idea how much pressure I'm under? I have a ton of work at the company. I have to support this family, support my mom, and pay the mortgage. Can't you just spend less? I'm already being very frugal. Then be even more frugal. He finished tying his tie and picked up his car keys. Don't compare yourself to others. Some women spend tens of thousands on a bag. At least you're not like that, right? The door closed. I stood in the entryway, listening as his footsteps faded down the hallway. Be even more frugal. I haven't bought any new clothes in a year. My winter coat is from before I got married. My down jacket is 5 years old, and the fur on the cuffs is worn out. Last month during my period, I even bought the cheapest sanitary pads. Save money. How much more can I possibly save? At noon, I was buying vegetables at the vegetable stall at the entrance of our residential area. The stall owner knows me. Mrs. Su, the cabbage today is fresh. 1 yuan 20 fen per jean. I picked 2 heads. That's less than 3 yuan. Is your husband on another business trip? Haven't seen him in a while. I was taken aback for a moment. He's been busy lately. Yeah, he's a big boss after all. The stall owner said with a chuckle. I've seen his car. That Mercedes-Benz. It must cost at least 7 or 800,000, right? I smiled, but didn't respond. That car was bought last year. 980,000. When he bought the car, I asked him, could you buy me a car for getting around too? He said, you're just a housewife. What do you need a car for? Can't you just take a taxi? A taxi. Using the 500 yuan living allowance for a taxi. I never brought it up again. Carrying the vegetables back, I ran into our neighbor, sisterly, at the entrance of our building. She lives upstairs from me. Her husband is also in business. Oh, Mrs. Su, buying groceries? Hello, sisterly. She glanced at the bag in my hand, her expression a bit complicated. Mrs. Su, can I ask you something? Go ahead. She lowered her voice and leaned in closer. Your husband, is he seeing someone else? What? I froze on the spot. Sisterly looked around and pulled me into a corner of the stairwell. I'm not just making this up. Last week, I went to Riverside 1 to look at apartments. While the sales agent was showing me a model unit, I happened to see your husband. Riverside 1. It's the most expensive development in the city center. The average price is $120,000 per square meter. There was a young woman with him, wearing a mink coat. The sales agent called her Mrs. Jiang. My fingers began to feel cold. I saw clearly. It was your husband. I recognized him. Sisterly patted my hand. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just thought you should know. She left. I stood in the stairwell. The cabbage fell out of the bag onto the floor. Mrs. Jiang, Riverside 1, mink coat. I crouched down to pick up the cabbage. My hands were shaking. That night, I sat on the couch waiting for Jiang Rui. I waited until 11 o'clock. The door opened. He was back. I stood up. He didn't look at me. He just walked straight to the bedroom. Jiang Rui, I called out to him. Did you go look at a house at Binjiang number 1 last week? His footsteps paused for a moment, just for a second. Then he kept walking. Company business, showing a place to a client. A client. He opened the bedroom door and went to sleep. I have things to do tomorrow. The door closed. I stood in the middle of the living room, clutching that bag of cabbage in my hand. Company business. A client. I opened my phone and found Sister Lee's WeChat. Yeah, that woman you mentioned the other day. What did she look like? 3 minutes later, she sent back a photo. I took this. She was looking at floor plans with your husband at the time. The photo was a bit blurry, but you could make out the woman's profile. A pointed chin, wavy hair, a mink coat. I didn't recognize her, but that hand resting on Jiang Rui's arm, I saw it clearly. There was a small mole on her pinky finger. Very small, but very clear. The next day, I started investigating. I couldn't see Jiang Rui's bank statements. He had passwords on all his cards, and never let me touch them. But I knew his securities account password. I had memorized it 6 years ago. When he asked me to help with a transaction, he forgot to change it. I logged in. The transaction record started from January this year. January 5, a transfer out of 500,000. February 14th, a transfer out of 200,000. April, transferred out 300,000. July, transferred out 800,000. The receiving accounts were all under the same name, Ching Man. I wrote down that name, and then started looking into real estate. I didn't dare go to the Binjiang number 1 sales center, but I could find the purchase info online. I searched all day, and finally, on a real estate forum, I found the transaction record for that apartment. Binjiang number 1, unit 1802. Area, 168 square meters. Total price, 8.2 million. Purchaser, Ching Man. Co-borrower, Jiang Rui. I stared at that line of text, and my heart felt like it was being squeezed tight. 8.2 million. He bought her an $8.2 million apartment, while my monthly allowance is 500 yuan. I put my phone down, then picked it up again, my fingers quickly scrolling through the securities account history. Counting from last year, the money transferred to Ching Man adds up to over 4 million. 4 million. I stared at this number, and suddenly laughed. Not a happy laugh, but the kind that tightens your throat and stings your eyes. That night, Jiang Rui came home at 10, and I was in the kitchen reheating food. Another business dinner today. Yeah, which client? He paused for a moment. Why are you asking so many questions? Nothing, just asking. I brought out the reheated rice. Scrambled eggs with tomatoes, mixed with plain rice. He frowned and glanced at it. This again. The allowance isn't enough, so we'll have to make do. Sujin, he put down his chopsticks. Can you stop talking about money all the time? I'm exhausted from working all day, and I just want some peace when I get home. Can you show a little consideration? I didn't say anything. Put down the bowl and chopsticks, and turned to go into the kitchen. Go ahead and eat. I stood in front of the stove, hearing the faint sound of chopsticks against bowls from outside. Very faint, as if nothing had happened. On the weekend, Jiang Rui said he had something at work, and left early in the morning. I waited 10 minutes after he left, then went out too. I followed his car, keeping a safe distance. He was driving very slowly, like he was waiting for someone. Sure enough, at the entrance of a mall, his car stopped. A woman walked out of the mall. Curly hair, a small face, in a camel coat. Ching Man. She opened the passenger door and got in. I saw her turn her head, and kiss him on the cheek. The car started up, and headed towards Riverside 1. I followed. Riverside 1 has tight security, but there's a coffee shop next door. The floor-to-ceiling window gives a clear view of Building 1's entrance. I sat by the window and ordered the cheapest Americano, $18. I checked my wallet, $29 left, enough to last 4 days. For those 4 days, I came every day. Americano. 18 times 4 is $72. I saved the money I'd use for eggs. For those 4 days, I watched Jiang Rui's car come and go. Sometimes he'd come in the morning, leave at noon. Sometimes he'd come in the afternoon, leave late at night. Once, Cheng Man was holding his arm. The two stood at the entrance, talking for a long time. She placed a hand on her own belly, as if saying something important. I couldn't see their expressions clearly, but I saw what Jiang Rui did. He crouched down, pressed his face against her belly, like he was listening for something. In that moment, my fingers went cold. Of course. No wonder he's been so distant lately. No wonder he stopped talking about having a baby. He already has a child. It's just not mine. Day 5. I didn't go back to the coffee shop. I went somewhere else. Jinrui Tech. Jiang Rui's company, to be precise. It's our company. 8 years ago, he was still a broke guy. Wanted to start a business. Had no money. It was me who gave him the 2 million. I'd saved before marriage as seed money. I had just resigned from the research institute then. I held patents for 3 optical coating technologies. He said, Su Jin, if you marry me, I'll make sure you have a good life. I believed him, gave him the money, licensed the patents to him, gave myself to him. In exchange for a piece of paper, Su Jin holds 30% equity in Jinrui Tech. This agreement, he probably forgot about it long ago. I never forgot. It's always been in the hidden compartment of my nightstand, kept together with those 3 patent certificates. And that one, the receptionist at Jinrui Tech didn't know me. Hello, who are you here to see? I'm here to see Lin Ku. And you are a client of hers. 5 minutes later, Lin Ku stepped out of the elevator. She was my college roommate, became a lawyer after graduation. 3 years ago, she jumped ship to Jinrui Tech as the head of legal. But this matter, Jiang Rui doesn't know. He never cared who my college roommate was. Jin, Lin Ku saw me, her brow furrowing slightly. Let's talk in the office. Her office is on the 23rd floor, with half the city's skyline outside the window. I sat down. I handed her the phone. Look at this. Photos, recordings, transfer records, real estate information, all of it. Lin Ku looked at it for 5 minutes, then raised her head, and looked at me. What are you going to do? Divorce. My voice was calm. I want to take back what's mine. Lin Ku nodded. Is the equity agreement still there? Yes. And the patent certificate is still there too. Good. She closed the laptop. Jin, I'll be honest with you. This battle won't be easy. Jiang Rui has deep connections in the company, and the shareholders are all on his side. If you want to take him on, you need to be prepared. I know. There's one more thing. She paused. About Cheng Man's pregnancy. Did you know? I know. Then you should also know that she's the company's marketing director, hired by Jiang Rui personally. I didn't say anything. This past year, Jiang Rui has handed over many core operations to her. The equity dividends also bypass you and go directly into her account. What do you mean? Lin Ku looked at me, with a complicated look in her eyes. Your 30% equity. Have you ever received any dividends? I was stunned. Dividends? I never even received any shareholder meeting notices. Jiang Rui said the company is still in the growth phase, so no dividends. He lied to you. Lin Ku pushed a document in front of me. Jinrui Technologies' net profit last year was 120 million. At 30%, you should have gotten 36 million. 36 million. My monthly allowance is $500. I stared at the document, my nails digging into my palm. Where did the money go? I looked into it for you. Lin Ku pointed at a line on the document. The dividends were deposited into an offshore account, under Cheng Man's name. After leaving Jinrui Tech, I didn't head straight home. I went to the bank, to notarize the equity agreement. Then I went to the notary office, to get all the evidence. Photos, audio recordings, transfer records, property information, backed up and notarized. Then, I went to the mall. I bought a dress. It was priced at 1,980 yuan. The salesperson looked a bit surprised. Ma'am, are you sure you want this dress? Yes. I handed over my bank card. This card is my secret stash, saved up before I got married. Pocket money I set aside each month, less than 20,000 in total. Today, I spent a tenth of it. That night, Jiang Rui, as usual, wasn't coming home for dinner. I was alone, wearing my new dress, sitting in the living room. The woman in the mirror looked unfamiliar. My hair hadn't been styled in ages. My skin was dull, fine lines around my eyes. But my eyes were bright, like a fire that had been smothered for too long, was finally about to ignite. My phone is ringing. It's my mother-in-law. Hello. Mom, Su Jin, your eldest aunt's son is getting married next month. The gift envelope is 20,000. 20,000. What? You think that's too much? Your aunt helped Jiang Rui out back in the day. Mom, I don't have that kind of money. I don't. Wang Shufan's voice turned cold. Su Jin, are you really this inconsiderate? Jiang Rui makes 5 million a year, and you can't even come up with 20,000? You married into our Jiang family, to live a life of ease. I didn't say anything. Listen to me. You find a way to get that 20,000. If you can't get it together, you explain it to your aunt yourself. She hung up. I put down my phone, $20,000, with a $500 allowance. It would take 40 months to save, 3 years and 4 months, and he spent $4 million on Chingman in just 1 year. I laughed again, that tight, choked up kind of laugh. 2 weeks later, Jinrui Tech's annual shareholders meeting. I got the notice. Lin could help me send it. Jiang Rui doesn't know. He never deals with these things. Minor details. In his eyes, I'm just a clueless stay-at-home wife. All I do is spend his money, good for nothing else. On the day of the meeting, I put on that $2,000 dress, and spent $300 on my hair. Before leaving, I stood in front of the mirror for a long time. The woman in the mirror was different from a month ago. Her eyes were calm, a faint smile on her lips, like I was heading to a banquet, or to an execution. Not my execution. The meeting room was on the top floor of Jinrui Tech. When I walked in, everyone was stunned. Su Jin. Jiang Rui stood up from the head seat. His face was grim. What are you doing here? I'm a shareholder. Why wouldn't I be here? I walked over and sat in my seat. Lin Ke had already prepared the documents for me. The meeting room fell silent for 3 seconds. Chingman sat next to Jiang Rui. Her eyes flickered. She was wearing a red dress today. Her belly was slightly rounded, 5 months along. I looked at that belly. My heart was calm. Everyone. Jiang Rui cleared his throat, trying to regain control of the meeting. Today's shareholders meeting is mainly to discuss next year's development plan. Wait a second. I interrupted him. Before we discuss next year's plan, I have a few questions. Jiang Rui frowned. Su Jin, don't make a scene. I'm not causing trouble. I opened the folder in front of me. First question. Last year's net profit was 120 million. As a 30% shareholder, I should have received a dividend of 36 million. Where is that money? The air in the meeting room froze. Jiang Rui's expression changed. That money. The company is still in its growth phase. There was no dividend. Oh, really? I present the second document. Then what's this wire transfer record for? 36 million. Wired to an offshore account. The account holder is Chingman. Chingman's face turns pale. Jiang Rui abruptly stands up. Su Jin, what are you doing? What am I doing? I look up and stare at him. I'm asking where my money went. The meeting room erupts into chaos. The other shareholders start whispering among themselves. Jiang Rui's face flushes, then pales. Su Jin, let's discuss this at home. No need to go home. I stand up. We're all shareholders here. Might as well all hear it together. I take out the third document. This is the original equity agreement for Jinrui Tech. 8 years ago, I invested 2 million of my premarital assets, plus the licensing rights to 3 core patents, for a 30% stake. This agreement, Jiang Rui should still remember this, right? His Adam's apple bobs. That was back then. What happened back then? That's a joke. Jiang Rui, the first money for your startup came from me. The company's 3 core patents are mine. You now make 5 million a year. The company is valued at 860 million, and my monthly allowance is $500. $500. You expect me to use that for groceries, pay the utilities, and buy health supplements for your mother. $500 isn't even 1/10 of that Hermes scarf you bought for Chingman. $500 is what you spend in a day on your mistress. My voice was calm, but every word was like a nail, hammered into Jiang Rui's face. The conference room fell dead silent. Chingman's face had turned deathly pale. She tried to stand up, but her belly was too big, and her movements were clumsy. Jiang Rui, you told me she was just a nominal shareholder, that she didn't understand anything. Shut up, Jiang Rui roared. Chingman was startled. Her eyes welled up with tears. Looking at this scene, suddenly, it felt ridiculous. Miss Chingman, I called out. She looked up, and stared at me. Do you know who I am? She bit her lip, and didn't say a word. I am Jiang Rui's legal wife. The house you're living in, worth $1.2 million, was bought with my dividends. The fur coat you're wearing, your bags, and jewelry, were all bought with my money. The child you're carrying is illegitimate. Her face turned completely pale. No, that's not true. Jiang Rui said you two had no feelings left. You agreed to divorce. What else did he say? I walked up to her. He said I was a dull housewife who didn't understand anything, that I only spent his money, that I wasn't worthy of him. Chingman's tears started flowing. I didn't know. You didn't know. I sneered. You're carrying a 5-month pregnancy, using my money, living in the house I bought, and you didn't know. Chingman, you're a thief who steals people. Jiang Rui rushed up, and grabbed my arm. Su Jin, you've gone too far. I shook off his hand. Enough, Jiang Rui, I've put up with you for 3 years. 3 years. 500 yuan a month for living expenses. For 3 years. Your salary card, bonuses, dividends. I've never seen a single cent. For 3 years. Your mother ordered me around, and I never talked back once. For 3 years. You kept a mistress on the side, bought her a house, had a child with her, and I knew nothing about it. My voice grew louder and louder. And now you're telling me, that's enough? Jiang Rui's face flushed bright red. What proof do you have? Proof? I opened my phone, and projected the screen onto the conference room's large display. Photos, audio recordings, bank transfer records, one by one, crystal clear. This is your hotel check-in record with Ching Man. This is the bank transfer proof for the house you bought her. This is a photo of you taking her to the hospital for a prenatal checkup. And this is the audio recording of you telling her, we'll get divorced once the baby is born. The conference room fell completely silent. Everyone was staring at the big screen. Their expressions were all different. Some were shocked. Some were disdainful. Some were gleeful. Jiang Rui's face turned from red to white, then from white to pale. Su Jin, what about me? I turned off the projection and looked at him. Jiang Rui, what kind of person do you think I am? A fool? A housewife who only knows how to cook and clean? A tool you got tired of playing with and could just throw away? Have you forgotten who gave you the 2 million to start your business? Have you forgotten whose patent the company's core technology is? Have you forgotten whose name is on that equity agreement? I walked to the head of the conference table. Starting today, I will exercise my rights as a 30% shareholder. First, demand the company immediately stop making any payments to Ching Man. Second, demand the recovery of the illegally transferred 36 million in dividends. Third, convene a board meeting to review Jiang Rui's financial issues over the past 3 years. I look around at everyone here. Shareholders, all in favor, raise your hands. Lin Ku is the first to raise her hand, then a second, a third. 5 shareholders, 3 raised their hands. That's a majority. Motion carried. Jiang Rui stands there, his face ashen. Su Jin, you can't do this. I can't. I laugh. Jiang Rui, when you treated me like a fool, did you ever think this day would come? When you gave me $500 for living expenses, did you ever think this day would come? When you and Ching Man were lying on that $8.2 million bed, did you ever think this day would come? I walked to the door. I turned back. Oh, right. I've already drafted the divorce papers, the house, the car, the savings. I don't want any of it. I just want my shares and my dignity. You and Ching Man, have a nice life. I push the door open and walk out. Behind me, Ching Man's sobs and Jiang Rui's roars echo behind me. I don't look back. 3 months later, the court's verdict is in. Jiang Rui and Ching Man were found guilty of transferring company assets. They were ordered to return 36 million yuan and pay compensation. Their house, worth 8.2 million, was frozen by law. Ching Man gave birth to a child. It's a boy, but she never got to live in that mansion. She was fired from the company. No income, no savings. She had to return to her hometown and rely on her parents. As for Jiang Rui, he was removed from his position as CEO. He's still a shareholder, but within the company, he has no say in anything. The other shareholders banded together and elected a new CEO. Not me. I have no interest in managing any of that. I just took back what was rightfully mine. A 30% equity stake. The annual dividends are more than enough for me to live comfortably for the rest of my life. On the day we signed the divorce papers, Jiang Rui came to see me. He'd lost a lot of weight. His eyes were sunken, and he had stubble on his chin. Su Jin. He stood before me, his voice hoarse. I was wrong. I looked at him. What did you do wrong? I shouldn't have treated you like that. Like what? Like what? I gave a bitter laugh. By only giving me $500 a month, or by transferring my dividends to your mistress, or by secretly raising a child for 3 years. He lowered his head and said nothing. Jiang Rui, do you have any idea how I've lived these past 3 years? When buying groceries, I had to weigh which was cheaper. During my period, I had to calculate the price of pads. When your mom wanted $1,000 health supplements, I had to scrimp and save. And you bought Ching Man a house worth over 8 million, without batting an eye. You dined at 5-star hotels every day, eating $1,000 seafood feasts. You took her on vacations abroad, staying in presidential suites. You told her, your wife was just a useless hag, and you should have left her long ago. I kept my voice calm, but with every word, his face grew paler. Su Jin, I was wrong. Give me a chance. I'll change. I'll change. I shook my head. Jiang Rui, you don't get another chance. I slid the divorce papers toward him. Sign it. His hand was trembling, but in the end, he signed. Walking out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I looked up at the sky. The winter sun was faint, but warm. I took a deep breath. 7 years. It was finally over. I'm waiting at the cafe across the street. I'm waiting at the cafe across the street. I smiled and headed across the street. A new life was just beginning. 1 year later, I opened a design studio downtown. It used my own patented technology. It wasn't big, but it had a great reputation. Sometimes we'd land some big client projects. The profits were good. One afternoon, I was drawing in my studio. The door opened. A young woman. She was holding a child in her arms, over a year old. I looked up and saw her face. Ching Man. She looked much older than a year ago. Her face was sallow, with heavy dark circles. Her hair was tied up in a messy bun. Su Jin. She stood at the door, looking a bit timid. What is it? She bit her lip. I want to find a job. I heard you're hiring here. I put down my pen. What's your major? I studied marketing. Well, sorry, we're not hiring for marketing. Her face paled. Su-jin, I know I wronged you before, but I'm really struggling now. Jiang Rui, what happened to him? He abandoned us, me, and the child. Her eyes reddened. After the baby was born, he changed. He said his career was ruined. Because of me. He hates me. He sold the house, took the money, and then vanished. I can't find him. She started crying. The child was scared by her emotions, and started crying too. In the studio, the two of them, one big and one small, were crying together. I looked at her. Ching-man. She raised her head. Back when you stole my husband, and spent my money, did you ever think this day would come? She was stunned. When you sat there, pregnant, at the shareholders' meeting, did you ever think this day would come? When you lived in that multi-million-dollar mansion, did you ever think this day would come? I stood up, and walked over to her. Do you think Jiang Rui is a good man? He even schemed against his own wife. How well do you think he'll treat you? You're just a tool to him. A tool for having children. A tool for transferring assets. Now that the tool is useless, of course he's going to discard it. Cheng Man's tears flowed even harder. I know I was wrong. I'm begging you, give me a way out. I looked at her. Cheng Man. My voice was flat. I won't help you. Her body swayed slightly, but I won't harm you either. I open the drawer, and take out a business card. It's a vocational training institute. You can go learn a trade. The tuition isn't expensive. You can graduate in 3 months. After you finish, you find a job on your own. Your path. You have to walk it yourself. She takes the card, and just stands there, stunned. Su-jin, thank you. Don't mention it. I sit back down, and go back to drawing. On your way out, close the door. She leaves. The door closes softly. Quiet returns to the studio. I put down my pen, and look out the window. The winter sun shines in, warm and cozy. I suddenly remember that afternoon, a year ago, leaving the courthouse. The sky was just as clear. Back then, I thought, a new life was just beginning. Now I realize, actually, it started the moment I dug out that equity agreement. The new life had already begun. Not the moment of the counterattack, but the moment I decided to stop enduring. I chuckled, picked up my pen again. Outside the window, someone was calling out, Boss Su, your delivery's here. Coming. I called back, got up and went out. It was a delivery for the studio. A batch of new design blueprints, and experimental materials for optical coating. After signing for it, I watched the courier bring everything in. My design studio had already made a bit of a name for itself in the industry. Thanks to our core patents in optical coating, and unique design philosophy, we had secured several collaboration orders from well-known brands. The studio had grown from the original 3 of us, to a small team of 10. I chose a location for the studio, in a cultural and creative park downtown. The floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over a sycamore-lined path below. Catkins in spring, falling leaves in autumn. Life was peaceful and steady. No more haggling over a head of cabbage for $5. No more staring at my phone, calculating if I had enough to get by. And no more enduring my mother-in-law's sarcastic remarks, or Jiang Rui's bossy commands. I bought myself a small apartment, not big, 60 square meters, but it has everything I need. The living room has my favorite floor lamp. The kitchen is fully equipped. On weekends, I can cook myself a nice, hot bowl of soup, and curl up on the sofa to watch a movie. The balance in my bank account keeps growing steadily. It's not from Jiang Rui. I earned every penny myself, so I can spend it with a clear conscience. Lin Ku is still my solid backup. She quit as the legal director at Jinrui Tech, and opened her own law firm, specializing in matrimonial and corporate equity disputes. Our offices aren't far from each other. We often have lunch together. She always laughs and brings up that shareholder meeting showdown I pulled off back then. It's become a living advertisement for her firm. A message from Lin Ku pops up, with a location attached. It's a high-end hotel in the west of the city. Su-jin, there's an industry cocktail party tonight. Let's go together. A lot of big names and new materials will be there. It'll be good for your studio's business. I look at the design draft I just finished on the computer. After some thought, I replied, okay. That evening, I picked out a simple, off-white dress. I put on light makeup, and loosely tied my hair back. I applied a muted rose-colored lipstick. The woman in the mirror had relaxed brows, and bright, clear skin. She was no longer the one with dull eyes, the stay-at-home wife in an old coat. The venue for the cocktail party was elegantly decorated. The crystal chandeliers refracted a warm light. The soothing melody of a piano piece flowed through the air. Champagne glass in hand, I exchanged pleasantries with familiar business partners. Occasionally, I'd run into industry veterans, and we'd discuss the technological advancements in optical coatings. I spoke with confidence and ease. There was an unmistakable sparkle in my eyes. Just then, I caught sight of a familiar figure. In a corner of the party was Jiang Rui. He was wearing an ill-fitting suit. His hair had more gray. He looked thinner than he did last year when we divorced. Holding a glass of wine, standing there awkwardly, he wanted to go over and talk to people, but was repeatedly ignored. Ever since he was removed as CEO of Jinrui Tech, its performance has plummeted. Several key shareholders pulled their funding, and now the company is barely hanging on. I heard that to pay off his debts, he sold off his remaining shares. Now he's completely alone. He saw me too. A flicker of panic flashed in his eyes, then was replaced by a hint of humble flattery. He walked towards me. His voice was still hoarse, even worse than last year. Su-Jin, long time no see. I gave a slight nod. I didn't say anything. I took a step to the side with my champagne, creating some distance. He rubbed his hands together. His tone was full of envy, and a bit of resentment. Your studio is doing really well. I heard, if Jinrui Tech still had your patents, it wouldn't have ended up like this. I cut him off. My voice was calm, without a hint of emotion. You made your own choices. Years ago, you shelved my patent, used company funds to support your mistress and buy property. You should have expected this outcome. Jiang Rui's face flushed instantly. He lowered his head, muttering softly, I know I was wrong. I really do. I looked at him, my tone cold. Knowing you're wrong doesn't change anything. There's no undo button in life. Just then, a woman in an elegant qipao approached. She took my arm. It was Lin Ku. She glanced at Jiang Rui with disdain. Mr. Jiang, this is an industry gala, not a pity party. Don't interrupt our CEO Su while she's conducting business. Jiang Rui opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end, nothing came out. He turned and left in frustration. Watching his lonely retreat, I felt no sympathy, only a sense of finality. The hardship he faces today is the fruit of seeds he planted long ago. He has no one to blame but himself. After the cocktail party, Lin Ku drove me home. In the car, she was beaming. Seeing Jiang Rui like that earlier, I almost burst out laughing. So satisfying. I smiled, looking at the neon lights outside the window. I don't even have the energy to hate him anymore. Doesn't seem worth it. Yeah, Lin Ku nodded, in a firm tone. He's not worth it. Your life is 100 times better than his now. Back at my apartment, took a hot shower, curled up on the sofa. My phone rang. It was an unknown number. Answered it. It was my mother-in-law, Wang Shufan. Still as bossy as ever, but with a hint of panic. Su-Jin, send me some money. Jiang Rui isn't making any money now. I can't even afford my medical bills. I was taken aback. Then I remembered. After the divorce last year, Wang Shufan moved in with Jiang Rui. She's been idle her whole life, living off Jiang Rui. Now that Jiang Rui's down and out, her life isn't going well either. I shot back, my tone cold and distant. Why should I send you money? Wang Shufan's voice instantly rose, full of accusation. You're my ex-daughter-in-law. Back when you married into our Jiang family, you ate our food, drank our water. Now that we're in trouble, you turn your back on us. Do you have no conscience? My voice was icy. I responded word by word. When I married into the Jiang family, I ate what I saved from my own share. I drank what I bought with my $500 allowance. What did your Jiang family ever give me? When Jiang Rui was making $5 million a year, you made me buy $8,376 baby formula. Made me come up with $20,000 for a wedding gift. I couldn't afford it. You called me stingy. Called me ungrateful. Now that you're down on your luck, you remember me. Too late. Wang Shufan flew into a rage. Her tone was full of curses. You ungrateful wretch. I cut her off, my tone brooking no argument. Don't you dare pin that on me. Jiang Rui and I are already divorced. You're not my mother-in-law anymore. There's nothing between us. Your medical bills. Go ask your son for the money. After saying that, I hung up immediately, and blocked that number. Back then, she gave me all sorts of trouble, and never treated me as family. Now that she's in trouble, and wants to beg me for help, that's just wishful thinking. I'm not some saint. I can't repay malice with kindness. The grievances I suffered those years, I can let go of, but I'll never forgive. Life went on as usual. The studio's business got smoother. I hired a girl fresh out of college, named Xiaotang. She's lively and cheerful, and quick with her hands. She's learning design from me, and sometimes chats with me about her relationship. Her eyes brim with sweetness. She rambles on about how good her boyfriend is. He buys her little gifts, remembers her period, and eats street food with her. Listening to Xiaotang, I sometimes think of my own marriage, and the humiliation and misery of those years, but I no longer feel sad about it. Those experiences were like a grinding stone that toughened me up, made me more independent, and taught me that in a woman's life, the most reliable thing is never marriage, or a man, but yourself. When autumn arrived, the studio landed a major order, collaborating with a company that makes high-end optical instruments. Their project lead was Xinyu, a man in his 30s, refined and meticulous. At our first meeting, he offered professional feedback on our design proposal, yet he was always polite, which put us at ease. The collaboration went smoothly. Xinyu knew how to keep his distance. He was rigorous at work, but reserved in private. Even when we occasionally had working meals together, we only discussed business. He never pried into my personal life. I had a good impression of him. thinking he was a reliable partner to work with. Once, I was working late into the night. Everyone else had left the studio, but I was still revising the design drawings. Shinyu sent a WeChat message, his tone full of concern. Still at the studio? I just finished up. I'm downstairs, and brought some late-night snacks. Want to come down and get them? I checked the time. It was already 11. My fingers quickly typed a reply. Thanks for the trouble. I'll be right down. Downstairs, Shinyu's car is parked by Wudong Road. He's leaning against the car, holding a thermal bag. He sees me, his eyes crinkle into a smile, and hands me the bag. Freshly bought wonton, still hot. I take the bag, and thank him softly. Thanks for going through the trouble. He waves it off, casually. Don't worry about it. Saw your post about working late. Figured you hadn't eaten. I have to pull an all-nighter to revise the drawings today. About pulling an all-nighter to revise drawings. That night, we stand by the side of Wudong Road, talk about work for a bit, then chat about everyday things. He knows I just started my studio. His tone is sincere, offering words of encouragement, without any forced flattery, just genuine recognition. When we part ways, his gaze is gentle, and he reminds me, be careful on your way home. Text me when you get home. I nod. A warmth spreads in my chest. After that, we started talking more often. Besides work, we'd occasionally chat about trivial things. He liked reading and photography. I liked painting and brewing tea. We had a lot of common interests. He never confessed his feelings to me, just quietly showed he cared through his actions. If I worked late, he'd bring me a late-night snack. If the printer in my studio broke, he'd find someone to fix it. If I caught a cold, he'd bring me medicine. But he never crossed the line. I'm not oblivious. I could clearly sense his feelings. But after one failed marriage, I'd become extremely cautious about relationships. I was afraid to jump in again. Lin Ko noticed something was up. She couldn't help but advise me. Su-jin, don't give up on the whole forest, because of one bad tree. As for Shinyu, I checked him out. He's a good guy, clean background, and he's sincere about you. Don't let him slip away. I just smiled, and didn't say anything, but deep down, I was starting to waver. One weekend in late autumn, Shinyu invited me to take photos in the ginkgo forest outside the city. His voice was full of anticipation. The ginkgo leaves there had turned yellow. So beautiful. I hesitated for a moment, but I still agreed. In the ginkgo forest, the ground was covered in gold. The wind blew through. Ginkgo leaves rustled down, like a golden rain. Shinyu held the camera, and took many pictures of me. He was a great photographer. He captured my gentle expression. My smile was like a flower. Walking along the path in the ginkgo forest, he suddenly stopped, turned to look at me. His gaze was incredibly serious. Su-jin, I know you've been through a tough time. I don't want to push you. I just want to tell you, I like you. It's not just a passing fancy. It's something I've thought long and hard about. I want to walk the path ahead with you. If you're willing, I'll spend my whole life making sure you feel loved. If you're not, I'll still respect your decision, and I'll still be your best partner. His gaze was sincere, like autumn sunlight, warm but not harsh. I looked at him, and the walls I built around my heart began to crumble. All these years, I've been holding on alone. From having nothing, to building my own studio, my own little home. I seemed strong on the outside, but deep down, I longed for someone to lean on, to share my joys and sorrows with. I was silent for a long time. Finally, I nodded. I whispered back, I do. Shinyu's eyes lit up instantly. He carefully took my hand. His palm was warm and broad, enveloping mine tightly. In that moment, I felt all the hardship I'd endured was worth it. After being with Shinyu, my life became so much sweeter. He remembered all my preferences. He'd keep me company when I worked late. He'd take me to try all kinds of delicious food on weekends. He'd hold my hand as we walked through the streets, just like any ordinary couple. He never minded that I had been married before. In fact, it made him even more heartbroken over what I'd been through. His gaze was firm, his tone solemn. From now on, I'm here. No one will dare make you suffer again. He kept his word. Once, I ran into Jiang Rui at a building materials market. When Jiang Rui saw me with Shinyu, his eyes filled with jealousy. He rushed forward to grab my hand. Shinyu immediately pulled me behind him, and stared coldly at Jiang Rui. Stay away from her. Jiang Rui looked at Shinyu, then at me. Realizing he had no chance left, he left in a huff. Shinyu turned around, ruffled my hair, and asked gently, are you okay? I shook my head, leaned into his embrace, and felt completely safe. On Christmas, Shinyu took me to the seaside. On the beach, he arranged candles into a heart shape, holding a small box. He got down on one knee, and looked at me tenderly. Su-jin, meeting you is the luckiest thing in my life. I don't ask for great wealth. I only ask to spend the rest of my life with you, never to part. Will you marry me? Inside the box is a simple diamond ring. The diamond isn't big, but it shines brilliantly. I look at him, tears stream down my face. This time, they're tears of happiness. I nod, and reply through choked sobs. I do. He puts the ring on my finger, stands and pulls me into a hug. Waves crash against the shore. The wind blows, carrying the salty scent of the sea. yet it feels incredibly gentle. News of the engagement. I only told Lin Ku and my colleagues at the studio. We keep it quiet. Lin Ku hugs me, her eyes welling up, her voice choked with emotion. Su-jin, your hardships have finally paid off. I smile, filled with emotion. Yeah, the hardships have paid off. All the grievances from those years, all the endurance, all the struggles, have become the past. Now, I have my own career, have someone who truly loves me, and friends who are always by my side. The rest of my life is filled with blessings. During the new year, I went back to Shin Yu's hometown with him. His parents are both gentle people. They know about my past, but never showed any disdain. Instead, they treated me exceptionally well. They held my hands, their eyes full of compassion. Child, you've suffered so much over the years. Now that you're with our family, we'll cherish you like our own daughter. At that moment, I finally felt the warmth of a family. That warmth of being cared for and cherished was something I never experienced in the Jiang family. After the new year, Shen Yu and I got our marriage certificate. We didn't have a grand wedding. We just invited close friends for a meal. The wedding was simple, but very warm. Lin Ku was my bridesmaid. Looking at me, her eyes full of joy, Shen Yu held my hand. His gaze swept over everyone present. I will love Su-jin and protect her for the rest of my life. I looked at him, my heart brimming with happiness. Married life was simple yet warm. I was still running my design studio, and Shin Yu remained a project manager. We each had our own careers, but we supported each other and helped each other succeed. He supported all my decisions, and I understood his busy work schedule. On weekends, we'd go grocery shopping together, cook together, and curl up on the couch to watch movies. Occasionally, we'd travel together to see the world. One time, I ran into Ching Man on the street. She was pushing a stroller. Her child was already 2 years old, a healthy, lively kid. She'd found a job as a supermarket cashier, wearing a uniform. Her face no longer had that refined look from before, but seemed more down to earth. She saw me, paused for a moment, then smiled, and nodded. As a greeting, I nodded back at her, without saying a word, and left with Shin Yu. Lin Ku later told me, after graduating from a vocational training program, Cheng Man learned cashiering and warehouse management. She found a job at a supermarket. Although the pay wasn't high, it was enough to support her and her child. Jiang Rui occasionally gave some child support, but it wasn't much. She no longer had the vanity and restlessness of her youth. She was living a steady life. I heard this, and I felt nothing. I just thought, everyone has to be responsible for their own choices. Cheng Man finally got her life figured out. As for Jiang Rui, I heard he later moved to another city, getting by on odd jobs. He occasionally sent some money to Wang Shufan, but it was just a drop in the bucket. With no one to rely on, Wang Shufan could only work as a cleaner in the neighborhood, earning a meager wage. She no longer had that bossy, domineering attitude from back then. Some people say, she often mutters in the neighborhood, her voice full of regret, regretting how she treated me back then. But in this world, there's no such thing as a magic pill for regret. Day by day, my studio grew and grew. I opened a branch studio and hired more staff. My optical coating patent gained recognition from more companies, becoming an industry benchmark. Shin Yu also changed jobs, becoming a partner at a tech company. Our lives just kept getting better. 3 years later, I gave birth to a daughter. She was delicate and lovely, just like Shin Yu. Shin Yu spoiled me and our daughter like princesses, changing diapers, making formula, putting her to sleep. He did it all. He became what people call a super dad. Seeing him hold our daughter so tenderly, I often wonder, if I had just kept on enduring back then, stayed that meek, stay-at-home wife, what would I be like today? Probably still that haggard housewife, stressing over living expenses, watching my mother-in-law's every mood, stuck in a hollow marriage. Luckily, I didn't. Luckily, at that moment, I chose not to endure it anymore. I chose to take up the legal weapon, to reclaim what belonged to me. I chose to become myself again. Life is never a straight path. There will always be bumps, muddy patches, and darkness. But if you have courage, and determination, and don't give up on yourself, you can always find your way out of the darkness, and see the light. Now, I have a husband who loves me, a lovely daughter, my own career, and friends who truly understand me. Life is warm and steady. The sunlight outside the window shines in, falling on my daughter's little face. She's sleeping soundly. Shin Yu hugged me from behind, his tone gentle. Darling, you've worked hard. I leaned into his embrace, looking at the blue sky and white clouds outside. A gentle smile rose at the corner of my mouth. The rest of my life is long, filled with flowers, and these flowers were planted by my own hands.